AM 560, The Answer.
All right, we got Richard Porter wanting to reply to probably something you said that was incendiary.
I think it's something you said, Mr. Prof. But yeah, let's get him on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Richard Porter is the Illinois Republican Party's National Committeeman, so he knows Ronna McDaniel and the dynamics there. Richard, thanks for joining us. What's up?
Hey, guys. Well, first of all, I'm your biggest fan. I'm listening to you every morning, as you know, right about this time. So, hey, look, I think it's such a shame people have so much energy for attacking other Republicans. I mean, we have so much energy over differences among ourselves and not enough energy and organization around trying to beat Democrats. One of your callers said that he thought he would give money to candidates instead of the party. And I do think, first of all, you ought to always give money to candidates first. But the party should be part of your giving program always because it provides the infrastructure and the kind of the architecture around which the campaigns operate. So it's an important part of what you do. And Dan, I think you've identified what it is the RNC does very well. It is primarily a fundraising operation. They provide funds to the states. They also provide funds to do things like try to improve our data operations. So there are things about what the RNC does that can be done better. But it is actually functioning, I think, quite a bit better than the DNC. But overall, the DNC is, these are all part, as you said, of a broader environment. And their ecosystem is healthier than ours. There's a lot less infighting on the Democratic side, surprisingly, despite their really kind of shocking differences on things, for example, you see it with the Hamas and Israel situation. So, I think our biggest challenge as a party is just stop hating on each other.
Well, I mean that at the federal level, I think there's some utility to that statement. At the state level, we have to have something to work together on, and we don't seem to have much of that. But I wanted to ask you a question at the federal level because
Sure.
the debate and partnering with the likes of an NBC, particularly the argument that we made, that Doug Truex has made, a restaurant package. Like, you have all these conservative outlets. You have all these conservative talkers, journalists, commentators that would do a credible job like Hugh Hewitt did.
Yeah, he did a great job.
Yeah, on Wednesday night. So why? I mean, to Ramaswamy's point, I don't know if I'd pick the moderators he picked, but the larger point, the DNC wouldn't hire Greg Gutfeld to be a panelist on one of their debates. Why is the RNC essentially hiring Lester Holt and Kristen Welker?
Well, I think, one, I'm not on the RNC, the debate committee, so I'm not sure what their alternatives were. But I think that part of what they're trying to do is reach out to a broader audience and get into the other echo chamber, if you will, and try to get some of our candidates introduced into that world. And so I think this was seen as a crossover opportunity to bring some folks in, from a silo that doesn't hear from us as often. Yeah. So, I was glad to see, for example, the RJC was involved in this as well. I mean, I thought that was very timely.
Yeah.
So, I think, we have a number of debates. I don't think they all have to be done with the same cast of characters. And I actually thought the NBC team did a decent job. They weren't as kind of wacky as they usually were. And their questions weren't as sort of, off the conservative map. I thought the last debate was actually worse in that regard.
Me too.
Well, it was
unwatchable.
But I mean, part of it is the sins of omission. In addition, I mean, the standard questions that they ask. Right? Okay, fine. There was less, opining from the moderators than we're used to with some of these people. But it's also the sins of omission. We talked a little bit yesterday. K through 12 education wasn't brought up because they don't want to bring it up. The censorship industrial complex, the Twitter files, et cetera, and the impact that has on elections, that wasn't brought up because they don't want to bring it up. And then it's on the five candidates to use their time to bring in another issue. That's difficult to do. So, I mean, there's that part of it, too, when you talk about the choice for moderators.
No, I agree with you on that. And I would say that was what brought Hugh into this. I thought his question about the Navy was a very substantive, thoughtful question. And I think if you combine debate panels, with some great conservative commentators like that, with some of these, I would describe them more as talking heads, it might be an interesting way to interject and maybe even embarrass some of these folks into talking about some of these issues. So, Hugh could have very easily brought up the school situation in the wake of what happened in Virginia and in Loudoun County. Here we had the school board fight. That's the epicenter of that, great movement. But we didn't move the needle in terms of the state representation in the House and the Senate in Loudoun County, which I thought was a real disappointment. And I'm not sure why that is. I haven't dug into that to understand why we lost in Loudoun County. Because you would have thought that parents in that area would have woken up and said, "Hey, it's time for a change." They didn't.
Regression.
Well, the next debate's going to be on News Nation, December 6th.
All right, Richard.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Richard
Porter. Have a great morning.
Thank you so much.
Thanks
for joining us. Appreciate it. Thanks for calling in. Give me your perspective. Coming up at 6:36. Our friend Jim Urio, host of the Future's Edge podcast. You see him on Fox Business. You also see him at Brandt's Restaurant in Palatine if you attend to have their burgers. Jim Urio, 6:36.
And later, 1,000 strong pro-Palestinians try to send a message to Biden while he's in Chicago. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
39 degrees at 6:33 on AM 560, The Answer. And Israeli Defense Forces continue expanding their ground operations in Gaza. Israel recently agreeing to a 4-hour pause in fighting each day to bring aid to civilians.